Good day, my dears. Today, we're gonna speak about English literature. And the topic of our discussion is roughly dedicated to the English literature in the 18th century. And in English literature of the 18th century, another name of this period is called Enlightenment. So many scholars divided this period into several titles, and among them are famous. First, the Age of Reason. Anything could be achieved through the calm working of the human mind. The second name, the Age of Classicism. In this name, we mostly rely on the all arts. There was fascination with the ancient Greece and Rome. That's why most of the writers wrote their literal works according to the classicist period. So the third name is the Age of Elegance. Here, we mostly display among the upper classes an elegant style of life. So if to speak about the general features of this moment, we can say that the creative works shows a sense of order and moderation. Authors display their cleverness, but not their heart and soul. Arguments in prose are calm and logical. Poems are carefully structured and often contains classical allusions. If to speak about allusions, we can say that this is a literal term regarding the use of the implied or indirect reference to a person, place, things, or idea. The English literature of the Augustan age is mostly reference to the prosperous Rome of Emperor Augustus, when commerce and great literature thrived. And Augustan literature is sometimes divided into two periods, each named of its most influential men of letters, such as the Age of Pope and the Age of Johnson. So in the 18th century, Britain was as powerful as France. This resulted from the growth of industries and from the wealth of its large new trading empire. Britain had the strongest navy in the world, and navy controlled Britain's own trade routes and endangered those of its enemies. Britain became wealthy thanks to trade. This wealth made possible both an agricultural and industrial revolution, which made Britain the most advanced economy in the world. So among the great representatives of this period, we first wish to mention about the Alexander Pope, because he is considered to be one of the greatest classicists of that period. And his great satirical work is the Rape of Love. And he was also a master of pastoral poetry. Essays such as Essay on Criticism, Essay on Man. Here, we mostly rely on the stylistic device satire, which is the use of the humor, irony, exaggeration, or ridicule to expose and criticize people's stupidity or vices. So, the second great representative is Samuel Johnson. He is a widely spread famous writer. He is considered to be the critic, poet, playwright, essayist, and a biographer. His great works, such as The Vanity of Human, Lives of Poets, the Dictionary of the English Language, has a great role in the English literature. So, among the most powerful writers who was the famous one with the writing of the biographies was James Boswell. So his famous The Life of Samuel Johnson is considered to be the one of the best novels that had written in the English literature. And also he created some non-fiction works as an account of Corsica and journals to be tour to Hebrides. And among the great satirist writers and masterpiece authors are Jonathan Swift, which is considered to be the 18th century great prose writer. He is the famous famous for his tale of Toe. This is a poem that ridicules the extravagancies of religion, literature, and academia. And his great work, The Battle of Books, is a mock debate between ancient and modern authors. Later on, we will speak about the Jonathan Swift masterpiece, Gulliver's Travel. He is considered to be the parody to that period. So, first of all, what is parody? Here we should say that this is an imitation of a particular writer or a genre, exaggerating it deliberately to produce a comic effect. So, at that time, in the Enlightenment period, the newspaper and magazines were very popular, and one of the prominent newspaper writers were Joseph Addison and Richard Steele. And they are one of the most famous literary collaboration in the English literature. And they mostly run out the literary journals as Tatler and the Spectator. So among the great, brilliant writers of the Enlightenment period, we also should mention about Daniel Defoe and his great novels such as Robinson Crusoe, Captain Singleton, Captain Jack, Moll Flanders, and Alexander. And he also was the author of the travel book Tour Through the Whole Isle of Great Britain. And if to speak about the novel, that period in the Enlightenment period, the emergence of novel had a great role in the literature. So what is novel? Novel. This is the maxi fictional story with a plot that is revealed by the speech, actions, and thoughts of characters. According to the types, there are several types of novels, among them the Gothic novel, novel of manners, novel of sentiment, and picaresque novels. And if to speak in details about the novels, firstly we should mention about Gothic novel. This is a type of fiction that is usually characterized by gloomy castles, ghosts, and supernatural or sensational happenings, creating a mysterious, chilling, and sometimes frightening story. To example of these novels, we can bring an Radcliffe's Mistress of Udolpho. And the second type of the novel was the novel of manners. Here, the type of fiction that recreates the social world, conveying the customs, values, and morals through the detailed observation. To this kind of novel, we can bring an example, the Maria Edgeworth's Belinda. And the third type of the novel was the novel of sentiment, a type of fiction which is characterized by extreme emotion. And to this type of novel, we can bring example of the great sentimentalist of the English literature, Samuel Johnson's Clarissa. And the final type of the novel was picaresque novel. This is a type of fiction consisting of a string of loosely connected events. It usually features the adventures of a rogue, swam, and living by his wits in the middle class society. So Tobias Smollett's The Adventures of the Roderick Random is considered to be the bright example of this kind of novels. So when we speak about the Enlightenment period, we mostly should remember about pre-romantics. Of the pre-romantics, this is the writers who created simultaneously at the period of Enlightenment and at the beginning of the Romantic period. So to this period, we can include such great writers as Thomas Gray, Robert Burns, and William Blake. Now let's move to the detailed information regarding to the one of the brilliant writers of the period, which is considered to be the Jonathan Swift, the great satirist who created at the period of Enlightenment. If to speak about Jonathan Swift, we should say that he was born in Dublin, Ireland, of an English family, which had important connections but little wealth. Through the generosity of his uncle, he was educated at the Chemical Grammar School and then at the Trinity College in Dublin. Between 1689 and 99, he worked as a private secretary to the distant kinship Sir William Temple, who was a retired diplomat. And there he also received the first real education in politics through contact with Temple and many other well-known politicians, learning much about hypocrisy, deception, and corruption in the political world. Jonathan Swift was the great writer who has a great impact on the literature of the English language, and his literary position was great in the English literature because Jonathan Swift firstly was one of the greatest masters of English prose. Secondly, he was master satirists. Even today, he is still regarded as a national hero in Ireland. So his great work, Gulliver's Travel, considered to be the greatest satirical novel in English literature. So if to speak about this great masterpiece, Gulliver's Travel, we should say that this is Jonathan Swift's best fiction work, which is published in 1726, where Gulliver travels into several remote nations of the world by the great protagonist of the world, Lemuel Gulliver. The book contains 4 parts, each dealing with one particular voyage, during which Gulliver meets with extraordinary adventures on some remote island after he had met with the shipwreck of the Pricey and some of the other misfortune. So, Lemuel Gulliver, as you see in the picture, is considered to be the narrator of the novel. He is middle-aged, middle-class, British, is intelligent and well-educated, and unaffectionate wife is considered to be his great characteristic features. A doctor on a Royal Navy ship who washed up on the shores of several fictional countries, and upon returning to England, he is painfully aware of his country's flaws. Mrs. Mary Burton, who is the Gulliver's wife, he only states her name at the beginning of the novel, and thereafter refers to her as his wife. She is mentioned only during his real time in England. And this is Captain William Witchell, the second character of this novel, and is the head of the ship and named Angelo, who controls Gulliver's first voyage, in which a storm overtakes the ship, leaving Gulliver stranded on the strange land of Lilliput. The voyage to Lilliput is the first part of the journey of the Gulliver. Let's speak about this. The first part tells about his experience in Lilliput. The emperor believed himself to be the delight and terror of the universe, but it was a period quite absurd to Gulliver, who was 12 times as tall as he. In his account of 2 parties in the country, distinguishing by the use of high and low hills, and religious disputes were left at in an account of problems which divided into Lilliputians. The main characters in Lilliputian country are inhabit Lilliput, only 6 in tall people, and prone to conspiracies and ritualisms. Emperor was the ruler of the Lilliputians. Despite small size, loves being in control, exercising his power and his large palace. And Gulliver visits Lilliput, and here he meets little tiny creations. Firstly, he finds that the population is split between big Anders and big little Anders. The emperor is keen to go to war with Belfast and the defecting the big Anders. The emperor, who originally likes to be as powerful as he likes and wanted to gain more power nearly 10 times taller and larger than ordinary human beings, but also superior in wisdom. Gulliver now found himself betrothed among men 60 feet in height. The queen regards Europe as its were as empty. Gulliver was sold and used as a slave, mostly used for entertainment purposes. Discusses history and policies of his native country with the king. And the Brongnians were the great giants that inhabit Brongnian. They were so reasonable and gentle. And also the queen, she was sweet, kind, humorous, and witty. The main characters to Pota. Let's speak about the sword voyage of the Gulliver. The sword part deals with mainly with his accidental visit to the Flying Island, where philosophers and projectors devote all their time and energy to the study of some absurd problems. Their scientists are engaged in projects for extracting sunbeams out of cucumbers, turning ice into gunpowder, and making clothes from cobweb. And the voyage for his great voyage was to the country of humans. Final journey to the country of the humans, horses. They ruled the deformed Yahoos. And Yahoos were such creations at that place. Gulliver vanished from their society because then he is a threat to their civilization. I bear here as a example to Yahoos. And if to speak about the summary of this work, we can say that the last part is the most interesting account of his discoveries in the human's land, where horses are endowed with reason and all good and admirable qualities and are the governing class. Contrary to the humans, the Yahus possesses every conceivable evil. They are malicious, spiteful, envious, unclean, and greedy. God admires the life and the ways of the horses as much as he is disgusted with the Yahudis, whose relations remind him of those existing in English society to such a degree that he shudders at the prospect of returning to his native place. So the main characters, let's speak about them, the fourth journey. They are Yahoos. Yahoos is uncount human-like race. They were dirty, hairy, primitive, but human-like. Many different kinds were blonde, red-headed, dark-haired. Servants, they also were servants of humans. So if to speak about the good characters of the false journey, humans, they are a horse-like race who rule over the country and unruly. They live in a peaceful, simple society, rule with the reason and truthfulness. And they don't even have a word like in their vocabulary. So also takes noble his last leave of the reader, proposes his manner of living for the future, gives good advice and good conclusions. And if to speak about the Enlightenment period and their great representatives in conclusion, we can say that this period Enlightenment impacted the English literature greatly with their great masterpieces, outstanding writers, and never die literal works. This was about the